Hello guys, welcome back to another review. Today I'm going to be talking about one of the all-time classic films. This film is regarded by many as the greatest film ever made, and that would be Orson Welles' Citizen Kane from 1941. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say right up front that there are possibly going to be a lot of spoilers in this review. I'm not going to hold back on much that I say in this. Anybody who watches my reviews knows that I don't like to spoil things, but with this film, with it being, 70 years old, going on 71, I figure, anybody who wants to see this film has already seen it. And, really it's just hard to talk about this film, to say much about it without going into spoiler territory. So if you haven't seen this film and don't want to know much about it, you might want to skip on this review and watch it later or whatever, So yeah, I'll just get right down to it. Citizen Kane tells the story of Charles Foster Kane. It starts right out where he has just passed away, and his last words on his deathbed was Rosebud. And all of these reporters are trying to figure out what exactly Rosebud means. Was it like some revelation to his life? Did it have some type of hidden meaning? So they decide to join together and try to figure out what this, has behind it, if there's anything to it. So they start meeting with people that Charles Foster Kane dealt with throughout his life. His second wife, and some of his business associates and stuff. So basically you see Charles Foster Kane's life unfold as it's told. The narrative is told by other people that that he knew. And Charles Foster Kane, basically what he is he's a very rich, wealthy, and successful businessman that was a media tycoon. Like he basically, he had a very successful newspaper and all this stuff, and also delved into radio also. But the story as it unfolds, through the people that he knew, you see that right from a kid, his mother came into some wealth, and she basically gave him over to a banker at a very young age, so that way he could be raised by him and showed how to be a businessman and all this stuff. And he becomes the owner of a newspaper corporation at a very young age, and it quickly gets successful by the things that he implements and his ways of going about telling the news. It becomes very successful. He rises to power, and he ends up even running for governor at one point. And then as fast as he rises to power, he falls even quicker and loses everything. And by the time he dies, he's a broken old man, that's just lives in his mansion on his property. Xanadu is what it's called. It's basically like he has so much land. It's basically like this city. But he's basically become a hermit and just lives there, by the time he dies. And you see all this, like I said, as it all unfolds, told by the people he knew. And all along the reporters trying to find out what Rosebud means. That's the basic setup of the story. Now guys, I had not seen this movie until a couple of weeks ago. Actually, I picked up this set. Amazon had a deal for $28, this whole entire set, which is really, really amazing. So, I just always passed on watching it throughout the years, whatever, greatest film ever, there's no way. That was always my thinking. But I picked it up and watched it, and I've actually watched it twice now, because the first time through, there's just a lot to take in with this film, I think, if you really pay attention to it. And I think to really do it justice, I wanted to watch it twice. And after seeing it twice now, guys, you know, there's a lot of things that settled in with this movie, you know, and really started to see the second time around how important this film really is and why it is so highly regarded. And one of the biggest things to me that I noticed, what I liked about it so much, is just Orson Welles' performance. It's incredible, you know. I mean, if you look at the history of the film and how this all came about, you know, he was in with this a group, the Mercury group, I believe is what it was called. Let me check here. Yeah, the Mercury Players, and it was a theater group. But between like what he had done with that, and then also in 1938 he did the War of the Worlds over the radio, which I'm sure some of you heard about. But anyway, he told the story, you know, about this alien invasion over the radio, and it panicked like everybody in America. And everybody thought that a real alien invasion was happening. But between that and his group that he had going, for the theater group, he was given unprecedented access at RKO Studios. Like they basically brought him in and told him, okay, we're going to give you $1 million, which at the time was just crazy for a movie. We're going to give you $1 million. You can write and make any movie you want and have final say on the film. So, you know, all of that was just totally unheard of. And, you know, there was a big hype behind this film, and he went and did it. And, you know, he went through all kinds of different stuff beforehand, you know, before he decided on, or you know, decided to settle on doing this Citizen Kane movie. Like, he had other ideas and stuff, but, you know, he decided to do this, and, you know, he put everything into it, and just his performance in this is just incredible. It's amazing because, you know, he was 24 years old, I believe, at the time when he did this. And, you know, of course, when he was a kid in the movie, it's a different actor. But when he gets up to where he owns, or where he's buying out the newspaper place, he's 24 years old. He's playing his regular age, but it goes all the way up till he's like 60, 70 years old. And, you know, through makeup effects and all that stuff, which at the time was really amazing. I mean, they still hold up well because of it being black and white and stuff. But, you know, just the changes that he goes through in the character in this was the most amazing thing to me in this film. I thought Orson Welles puts on a stellar performance. I mean, it's one of the all-time great performances, in my opinion, just for the simple fact of how much the character changes and how well Orson Welles adapted to all those changes of the character. Now, of course, you know, going back to, you know, RKO and all of the unbelievable access he had to be able to make this movie, you know, this was loosely based on the real guy, the William Randolph Hearst, which was exactly what Kane was at the time. He was a well-known newspaper radio tycoon and all that stuff. And there were, you know, Orson Welles faced a major backlash when this film came out. Like, Hearst would not let it be advertised in any of his papers or anything, and basically this movie, it ruined Orson Welles' career. I mean, really, when you look at this film as a whole, it's basically telling the story of Orson Welles. That's what turns out to be so crazy about it, because it's a guy that, you know, rise to power and had the whole world in his hands and then lost it all. I mean, that's really what happened to Orson Welles over making this film. It's pretty incredible. But, you know, another thing that's always talked about with this, you know, like if you look at the story, you know, nowadays you're just going to say, okay, well, all right, it is what it is. But, you know, you have to put yourself in the frame of mind 1941. Like, if you've seen any films that came out in this period, nothing even comes close to looking like this film. How it was shot, the acting, everything, and then also the narrative, how the story's told. You know, as far as the camera shots go, you know, I'm sure most people watching this has already heard all this stuff, but like showing the ceiling shots, you know, some of the low angles shooting up towards the ceiling, showing the ceiling in this period was unheard of because most things were shot on a set. So, you know, they figured out ways around all this stuff by putting sheets up and having the boom mic above that, and digging out floors and mounting the camera down on the floors. And, you know, Orson Welles even says that all this stuff came about because he didn't really know what the hell he was doing. He didn't really get into true, filmmaking until this film came about. It's just incredible, that out of him just being naive, he created one of the all-time groundbreaking films. And then as far as the narrative goes, it's really split up how it's told. Like I said, it starts off with Foster Kane dying, and then it goes back to when he's a kid, goes through his life, and it's bouncing all around from the present to the past. And there had been a few films that had done this before Citizen Kane, but Citizen Kane really took it to a different level. The funny thing is, like, a lot of the critics at the time didn't even get the film at all. Like, a lot of them really bashed this film for saying that it was so choppy, it was incoherent story, you couldn't understand it, it didn't have any type of plot to it. It's pretty incredible because nowadays, you watch this film now, it kind of plays like a modern film. It really hasn't even aged. I mean, some of the music may age it, but if you just look at this film on its own, it really hasn't aged at all. It's just incredible because it looks like a modern film. All the people and films that this thing has influenced, it's pretty amazing. But guys, like I said, I really enjoy this film, especially seeing it a second time through, because the first time, I just really didn't know how to take it all. I liked it, but the second time through, it really started to sink in, which, that happens a lot with me with movies, but I think this is the type of movie that, you have to see multiple times, I believe, to really appreciate the brilliance of it. I really do think it's a brilliant film. And guys, the rating I'll give this is definitely going to be a 10 out of 10 because it's just so amazing. I just, Orson Welles' performance, like I said, that's the main thing with me in this. It's just incredible. I mean, he does it so well. I mean, just the wide range of emotions and everything that he goes through throughout the course of this film, and he pulls it off so well. There's not any time I can think of to where it was like a weak performance, with him covering an entire life. He did it so well. So yeah, guys, I really enjoyed this. So yeah, for the rating, I give it a 10 out of 10. The picture quality on this, guys, for a film that's 70 years old, it's quite amazing. They really restored this. Very, very good. As far as picture goes, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. There's a few instances where it gets a little weak. There's some scratches and parts where they couldn't repair, significantly. But I'm sure it's the best it's ever looked. Like I said, I'd never seen this until this release just a couple weeks ago when I picked it up. But I was still amazed by it. It's not quite on the level of like Psycho, but then again, Psycho, this film's got 20 years on Psycho, so it is what it is. And plus, with the taken into consideration, this film they tried to destroy this film. William Randall Hearst and some other guys attempted to purchase all of the prints and destroy this film before it was even released. So I'm sure it might have been a little limited on what they could find, especially being 70 years old, So yeah, guys, I give it a 9 out of 10 for the picture. Okay, guys, so again, this is the 70th anniversary edition. So as far as the extras go, there's a lot of really cool stuff in this edition. I'll show you this first off. In the actual pack here, it comes with the Blu-ray, which is still on my player. It comes with the Battle Over Citizen Kane, which is a 2-hour making of documentary. I've just barely watched any of it. I saw like 15 minutes of it so far, but it seemed really cool, very in-depth, that goes over the entire process of making this film. I'm very anxious to watch it. I just haven't had the chance to check it out yet, but yeah, it's like 2 hours long, so it's going to cover everything. And then you have the HBO Films movie RKO 81, which this title, the RKO, of course, is a studio, but 281 is the actual lot that it was filmed on there. And basically, this is the, how would you say it, the documentary drama film where it's basically telling the story of the documentary. And I forget what the dude's name is, but the guy that plays Cotton Weary from the Scream films plays Orson Welles, and I thought he did a pretty damn good job. It also has John Malkovich in it, Melanie Griffith. But it's a very good film, and I've heard that, you know, a lot of it is fictionalized, and, you know, they stretch the truth in some of it. That may be. I don't know what is the truth and what isn't the truth out of this stuff, like, because it's so new to me. But, you know, as a film on its own, I thought they did a pretty good job with it. It's a short film. It's only like an hour and 25 minutes long. You know, they cut to the chase. They cut out the fat. It's not, you know, over long. It's not over talky or anything. They pretty much just show you, you know, the important points and then move on. But it's very good. You know, it's really cool showing behind the scenes, showing, you know, stuff at the times and stuff like that. And then there's some other stuff on here too. I think the actual disc has some interviews with some of the stars. It was taken from the 90s and stuff like that, and it has a few commentaries on it. One of them is with Robert Ebert, the famous you know, critic, excuse me. But yeah, guys, the extras on this are fantastic. I give the extras a 10 out of 10. They really did a very good job with this, and this is definitely the addition to own on this. So extras, 10 out of 10. Okay, guys, so the overall score on this, just amazing. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better packaging on this. I'll go ahead and show you guys what's all involved here. You got a really hard case. It has sort of a little embossed cover here, but glossy letters, and the lettering is all done. I know you can't see it on here, but it's done where it looks like puzzle pieces. You know, that goes along with the movie, of course. If you've seen it, you know that on the back it has the rosebud. Then of course you have this, which I just showed you, but also it comes with a hard book here that tells basically the story of the film. You know, you got storyboards and stuff here, and then this is just a little brief rundown on the history of you know, Orson Welles and how he got with RKO Studios, how he made the film and all this stuff. Very cool. And then here, of course, this says Rosebud on it. It's a little folder. And this has replica lobby cards from the film. Very neat stuff. I can't imagine, like, if somebody actually has some of these lobby cards, how much they are worth now. I mean, it'd be in the thousands, definitely. You know, then you got little pamphlets and little replica write-ups and receipts. I mean, just all kinds of cool stuff, man. I mean, they really did this edition well. And then also you get a little replica souvenir program that I guess they handed out upon the initial release of this film, which, for those of you that don't know, when this came out, this film, like, totally dudded out. It didn't make its budget back. It didn't make any money. It just came out and disappeared. It wasn't until like 10 or 15 years later, when it got re-released, that it started getting any type of recognition. It's pretty amazing that happened. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that this program was handed out on its first run through the theaters. So yeah, guys, they really did this well. I mean, you just couldn't ask for better packaging of any film. So, you know, overall, I have to give this a 10 out of 10. I mean, I just don't see any other way of looking at this. I mean, you know, it's well worth the money. I've wanted to get this for a while. This came out, I believe, September of 2011, somewhere around there. I think it was right around there, though. But I'd never seen this set for under $55 until, you know, just a couple weeks ago when Amazon ran that sale for $28. So when I saw that, I picked it up, and I do not regret it at all. It was a blind buy for me. Is this the greatest film of all time? In my opinion, no. But, you know, that's subjective to whoever you ask. Is it one of the greatest films of all time? Absolutely. I don't see how people that appreciate film and just, you know, love film in general and how things are made and done with film couldn't say that this is not one of the greatest films of all time. I mean, it's expertly made in about every way imaginable. I mean, it's just pretty incredible of a film. But yeah, guys, overall I give this a 10 out of 10. Like I said, it's a great movie. It's got a great picture to it. The extras are fantastic. I could not recommend this more. This comes with my highest recommendation. If you haven't seen Citizen Kane, give it a watch. You may not like it. You know, it's hard to say. Some people think it's vastly overrated. I mean, anytime you say a film is the greatest of all time for anything, you know, you're automatically setting that up to fail. I mean, automatically some people's going to watch it and not going to see why it's considered that. I understand that totally. But for me, I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. This is going to sit nice on my shelf. I like having it. So, yeah, guys, that is Citizen Kane by Orson Welles. I'm Jason. I appreciate you all watching. Have a good one.